everybody. Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk. I'm Wendy Stuart.
And I'm Tym Moss.
Tim, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good. How are you?
A little tired because we went to a marvelous party last night for the fabulous Connie Fleming, runway star and an amazing artist. And her work can be seen at Caligari Gallery, which is at 144 West 18th Street. The work is still on the walls there. But the coolest thing last night, I know Tim will agree, we ran into so many people that we knew from club nights, as well as a next generation of artists and performers, and everyone was so friendly.
It was a wonderful night, wonderful people, very eclectic.
It was eclectic.
Group, and
don't you love that word?
Yes.
Eclectic. It was eclectic and fashionable and eccentric, and
everybody, it's so supportive. Everybody was just so friendly and so fun and so nice. It was wonderful.
The lighting was
That's
good.
how it always should be.
It always should, and the lighting should always be good, because it was in a furniture gallery. The lighting went, don't you care about, I care about that. Right?
Oh, yes.
When the lighting's bad, it's just like, damn, I don't want
And Brian Sonia taught me how to be sure to get into the light.
Into the lights,
and in the furniture store, you sit on the sofa and lean back.
First of all, Tim and I, as you know, are just busy all the time. I'm shooting a horror film this Friday that you did some work in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes. So I'm not going to tell you what I'm playing, but
the name of it,
it's really
Lady Clover Honey. Yeah, I forget the name.
Yeah, it's like Stalking and Stockings.
Yeah,
it's
Stalking and Stockings. Yes,
Stalking and Stockings.
I think that's it. Yeah,
but yeah, there's Stalking and Stockings in it. But yeah, we're having fun. We love working with our friends, which is always great.
Yes,
fun.
And I shot my scenes last week.
Yeah,
and that was with Icavelli.
Right,
so much fun.
The amazing Icavelli.
Yes, when you get Ike and Tim together, it's fun.
It's powerful. And you're going to have Ike, Tim, and Wendy all together on October 28th doing 50 Shades of Gay. Right. That's Halloween weekend. We are going to be actually performing in Huguenot, New York. You're probably saying, where the hell is that? It's right near Port Jervis, New York. We've got a beautiful venue up there. Milford, Pennsylvania. It'll be to benefit the LGBTQ organization that I helped start and I work with. It's called Triversity. But we're promising you a great show with a dance party.
Yes, it's going to be like a weekend party. It's going to be fun.
Well, we love weekend parties, right? We live for those weekend parties.
Well, let me see. Last week, I went to see Kimberly Akimbo on Broadway, which I loved. I thought it was brilliant.
Tim goes to a lot of Broadway.
It was just so original and fresh and new and different. That's what I liked about it. And yeah, it was very moving. It was a very cool show. And I highly recommend. And then I did the film shoot on Friday. Well, then my niece, Jill Moss, she came in from Indiana. She works at Purdue University. And this is her first time in New York. And we have been going everywhere in this city. From
I love it.
Downtown, we hit the San Gennaro Festival.
Oh my God, you went to San Gennaro.
Yes, we did San Gennaro. We went to the World Trade Center, which is still moving for me. And then we just took like a ride on the Staten Island Ferry just to go out by the Statue of Liberty so she could see that. And we went up into the Empire State Building, and I never do the tourist stuff. It's fabulous.
Well,
my God, we live in a fabulous town.
So why don't you just invite all your relatives here? You can do it all the time. Invite your relatives.
Do a tour.
Your relatives. I actually
we've just been all over the East Side and the Upper West Side and Midtown and downtown, and of course Stonewall. That was our first stop to a drag show.
With Chauncey.
And Chauncey was,
Chauncey was there. Great. It's great to have that we know so many people.
Absolutely.
So many high places. No, I'm just joking. We know so many people in so many places. So speaking of people in places, I just want to give a shout out this Saturday at 7:00 here at PANGEA. I
love her.
Man to reckon with. I hope I'm holding this up. David Sabella, and that's at 7 p.m. And then David Mills is here at 9:00. That's Friday night.
Incredible performers.
Yeah, they're two incredible. Well, there's all kinds of incredible performers at PANGEA. Yes. And you know what? The food is fabulous. So make sure you come on down. And they got new chairs here. We can't show them to you. I can't figure out how to put them in front of the computer, but they're amazing.
Yeah.
They look good and they make your butt feel good.
So you're going to be comfortable. You're going to get some good food and have some wonderful entertainment. So
fabulous. wonderful entertainment. Oh, okay, that's my buzzword for
Now, speaking
today.
of wonderful,
You know, I pursued this person. I have to say I did. I can be a real pain, but I was very much aware of their talent as a performance artist. And as I was reading more and more about them, I had seen them perform over the years in various venues. But when you put it all together, the performance art, the visual art, the dance, multimedia presentations, spoken word, unspoken word, written word, just absolutely incredible Renaissance person that the New York Times said, the shaping of the self through art. Love it. Put your hands together for John Kelly.
Yay!
Slide on into the hot seat.
And we got to get real cozy.
Okay, here we go. Here we're. I think we're.
There we go. Oh,
I think
perfect.
we look good.
Perfect.
There you go. Are you happy, John? It's
Yeah,
good,
I'm happy.
right? Yeah, we want our
There we
guests
are.
to feel really comfortable. Thank you so much for
Yes.
coming to PANGEA, for being here with us today.
Finally.
Finally, right? But you see, I don't give up. And I owe you apologies. You gave me a card that had performances you were doing in July. And then you did one for at Howell Annex. What's it called?
Oh yeah. With a new band.
Yeah. See, I memorize everyone's performance. His, mine, everyone's. And I really wanted to get to it, and I didn't. But I didn't give up on you.
There'll be more.
There's going to be more, right?
Yeah.
And the reason there's going to be more is you are such a prolific artist in so many ways. And I know you started out in dance.
Actually, before that, visual art.
It was visual art,
Yeah.
and you went to school for visual art.
Yeah.
But this was in you already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, well, it had to be. You like layers and layers. I read about you, and there's more layers, and you're influenced by major artists that have made a difference. How does this all happen for you?
I mean, I think artists are born, but I also think one can become an artist. I always knew I'd be an artist. I'm good at certain things. I'm not good at other things like making money.
Welcome to the Not Making Money Club.
And I don't know. I've always had this kind of bug in me to kind of figure stuff out in a way that is my own version of making sense of things. You know,
Right.
I mean, I grew up drawing. I got that ability from my father. So I was drawing and painting when I was a kid. Then I discovered ballet on TV at the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wait. So that you hadn't danced till you saw it.
I danced around in the basement.
Okay, I was going to
like
say in the house.
dresses and weird things to
Right.
records and stuff. But I mean, looking at ballet and like, what is that? What is that world? And so that gave me that bug while I was in high school. And then out of high school, I got a scholarship at American Ballet Theater School.
Well,
ABT,
obviously, in high school, you pursued dance.
Right.
In the musicals that I was
Okay.
in, and I studied dance with a former Rockette in Bayonne, New Jersey.
Get out.
Okay.
That's where all the former Rockettes are, in
Yes.
Bayonne, New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of the ballet, jazz. It was one of those classes. I didn't even know you had to straighten your legs
Wow.
completely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But you auditioned for the American Ballet Theater, and
Yeah.
you got
And you
in.
got in.
Yeah.
That's
That-
that's
well,
quite an
The
accomplishment.
scholarship class, not the company.
Okay.
'Cause
I know,
had
but
no
it's still
training.
to get a
Oh, right, of
scholarship with
course.
really not intense formal training. I'm sure a lot of
That's
the people you went up
impressive.
against had that formal training.
Right.
Yeah,
High school's late already to be, doing ballet.
yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think I had enough going for me at age 17 that they saw promise, had a good line, good jump. I wasn't really turned out, but I got in there. I did that seriously for about 4 years, and I was at Harkness House for another couple of
Wow.
years,
Mhm.
doing small roles on stage at ABT, like the organ grinder and Petrushka,
Uh-huh.
and concentration camp victim in a John Cranko piece.
Yeah.
You just like went into the
Yeah.
body language too. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then I decided I really wanted to be a prince, but I said it's not going to happen. I started too late. My colleagues are already going into companies, and it just wasn't going to happen. So I just quit abruptly and went back to my first vocation, which was visual art.
Okay.
So
Because I
the-
was going to say, what was that
Yeah.
feeling like? That acceptance that.
Well, I felt like a failed dancer, to be quite
Wow.
honest.
I'm getting
Wow.
that feeling
Yeah.
because of the
Uh-huh.
competition. Like what I got, 17 is late as you,
Yeah.
but the fact that it was there to begin with,
yeah.
you just took and spun it because you went back to the visual arts
Yes.
and then end
Mhm.
up combining the whole thing.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I mean, having felt like I'd failed, I literally walked out and walked away from all that training, didn't maintain it. But I went to Parsons School of Design and studied fashion illustration because I'd seen these beautiful Antonio Lopez drawings in GQ. I was like, oh my God, social information and drawing the line.
And I have to ask you, did you know Manning Obregon as well?
No,
he was as famous as Antonio Lopez, who he was part of our family, and he was incredible illustrator. I love that illustration affected you in this way.
Yeah, and so what I did was I was able to redeem myself by focusing on something that I had more control over and had maybe a more innate gift for. So I became a really good draftsman. But what I also brought with me, which I realized later on, the mirror of the dance studio, I brought with me when I started doing self-portraits. So it became the mirror of the self-portrait. So it was an interesting segue that I eventually realized I had embodied.
Right.
You know? And that's where I discovered Egon Schiele's work, the Viennese expressionist painter.
Right. And Caravaggio as well.
Caravaggio, that was a little later.
Caravaggio as well. I had no idea who that was. What is it about those artists that
well, there's the work. There's the work. There's like an identification when you see the work. But then when you realize what their life is like, they both had very dramatic, turbulent lives. That makes it even more alluring, even I think for the general public, you know.
But you're attracted to dramatic turbulence.
well, jumping to later on when I started making,
because it's interesting.
Well, there,
it is. There's nothing bad about it. Yeah,
definitely.
Good, Tim. Right.
But when I started making performance works much later, that was like, oh, now I can make a piece about Egon Schiele, which kind of brings in my dance background and my visual art reality. And then, you know, so when it came time for me to go back on stage, I like, what characters will I do? I mean, in fact, the opening night of the Pyramid Club, I did the Martyrdom of Saint Sebastian.
Oh, wow.
In kind of half drag, you know.
And,
oh my God.
Partial drag. It's interesting that you mentioned Pyramid Club, because you came up in New York then, late 70s, early 80s, right?
Oh,
me too.
The creativity.
Yeah. It was a whole different ballgame.
Oh my goodness.
The real estate.
The real estate. I had a $500 a month apartment. It was beautiful. Rent controlled when they had rent control. So it was much easier, I think, to be an artist than
most definitely.
You know, all the people you came up with in the Pyramid Club. What a day to have be able to create work there.
Yeah, you know, the Pyramid opened, I think, in December of 1981. It was me and Phoebe Leger performing.
I love it.
And it's just, I knew in that moment, this is where I want to be. It was drag, it was straight, it was gay.
It was everything.
It was rock and roll, it was punk, it was just everything together. It wasn't ghettoized. And it was just incredible. It became my schooling, really. You know?
Wow. It's interesting that you're saying that, because there's a lot of performers that, you know, you could Hattie Hathaway, Brian Linda Simpson, they would all say that. And I guess the difference now is you can't get that schooling. You cannot get that kind of schooling.
Well, I think people are studying some version of it in university.
And but that's something that you have to live. You have to actually experience. It can't be taught in a school book or in a schoolroom, in my opinion.
Although I did teach at Bard College briefly.
I saw that you did. Yeah.
And I taught a performance class called Visual Performance, where they had to make performance work that wasn't text-based.
Oh,
so that really, and the first exercise, they had to pick a song to lip sync, but then they had to do the opposite thing with their body. Whatever message was in the song, their body had to do the opposite message. So it was really a way to get them to
loosen up and really, really connect.
Well, to learn control.
Yeah. And think a bit about how do you do something kind of on the oblique, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
It's great that you worked at Bard. You know, that is one of those places. It's an art school, definitely. My daughter got in there, and I'm like,
oh, great.
Well, it's so funny you said, oh, great. I was already like, you know, from being my husband's an artist, coming up in this business, I'm like, are you sure you want to go to an arts college? Well, I was thinking of, I'm going to have to be like giving her money the rest of her life. I'm sorry, but that's true. But Bard is a wonderful place, and what a great way for students to connect, having somebody like you. What was the reaction to a lot of the kids that you taught?
They were great. I mean, they were really game. They were curious. They weren't on their phones. I mean, it was really.
They weren't on their phones.
They were hungry. They were hungry to explore their foibles and their dreams, and and I gave them room to do all that.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
it was.
Well,
was
thank
good.
you for doing that, because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
quite an accomplishment right
I
there,
think,
getting their
yeah.
attention and keeping it
Yeah,
for them to, again, getting them off their phones. That's
Yeah.
saying something there.
Yeah, it really wasn't an issue at all. I really felt like I borrowed
But
the, you know.
that's one thing that I just feel is lacking in our society right now is support for creativity.
Yeah.
It again, I mean, they do to a certain extent if it falls into the box
The category,
of
yeah.
commerce or
Yeah.
or marketability.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, this country and culture, it's a tenuous relationship.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. How is it though? I mean, I looked at your body of work. I had asked you for a video and you didn't send it. And I'm like, I'll find one. There was so much and I didn't even know where to start. And there were things where you were just using your body and I'm like, how does somebody continually through decades continue to create a body of work? Did you at any point get like what we call writer's block? Did you as
like
a performance artist ever have a block?
Or what's your inspiration?
Yeah.
Where do you find your inspiration?
Well, I'm kind of going through performer block right now because I'm developing a new piece and I have no idea what I'm going to do. But the thing is, you know, as a performer, since I wasn't coming out of theater,
Right.
and I was making my own work, I thought, well, this body can make noise, it can sing, it can speak, it can move, it can transform itself and look a certain way, it could change gender, you know. So really, this is the instrument. There's all those options. So that, you know, depending on the idea that I got, I would say, well, this piece will have maybe one song in it. This piece will be all movement. This piece will be a lot of songs connected. So really, it was depending on the subject matter that I was focusing on, whether it was a character I invented or a real character like Joni Mitchell or Egon Schiele or Caravaggio, you know.
But where do you get a feeling like if you see something or see someone or a flower or something that will be like, wait a minute, I could do that? Or you get your inspiration from many different.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. It's like a light goes on somewhere or something falls in your lap, but the key is to notice it. It's like, oh, that's a good beginning point, you know. That's really,
but that's a totally organic thing then.
Absolutely.
That you can do that. And listening to you talk, I think you just could always do that. You trust yourself enough. There's a lot of artists that may have that gift because it is a gift. It's instinctive, but they don't trust themselves enough to go with it.
I think one of my favorite words is permission.
You give yourself permission.
You give themselves permission to notice something, act on it, and proceed, not knowing whether it's going to be financially viable or whether people will like it. That doesn't matter. If you put those conditions on it, you'll be killing it, you know.
Right.
So let it live and see where it goes.
Let it live and see where it goes.
Meanwhile, you got to pay your rent, though. So you know.
Right.
That's so a bitch, isn't it?
But I find it so fascinating how the diversity of creative expression that you are capable of, and how you combine them on to portray a feeling or to portray a story or that's truly an amazing innate ability that you have.
Right. It's not just one medium. You know, many people work in one or two mediums.
Yes. Right.
Like you work in so many mediums, and it seems like you can you flow. You're able to open up portals and see things.
Well, I direct my own work, and also when I was in the clubs, I discovered production values. As I said, I hadn't studied theater. There's production values in dance and ballet.
Right.
But I was like, oh, flash paper. Oh, a strobe light. Oh, a mirror ball.
A strobe light.
Yeah. Those things.
Smoke.
Smoke
machines. Smoke machines.
And you can work with it.
Yeah. So those are like candy. Just I can use this here. I can use this here. So it's really kind of this constantly unfolding relationship to possibilities. You know?
Right.
A weird question.
Tim, let's ask weird questions. Go for it, Tim.
What do you feel like when you're inhabiting a combination of these?
Yeah.
Like when you're inhabiting it, would you call it a character?
Yeah, I call them characters. I mean, most of them I've invented, but a bunch of them are existing characters that I've chosen to embody. But it's an acting thing, albeit it might be mostly nonverbal on my part. Although sometimes I use words now. But it's really like you're embodying this reality and this journey, but it's like you're portraying this character, but you're also doing it as yourself. So it's like these two things together.
Right.
Mhm.
And then they kind of do this, but really it's not like, it's that they're trying to merge, like say when I was doing the Joni Mitchell show, I can sound like her at certain points, but I don't really always sound like her,
Mhm.
and I don't really look like her, but it's kind of trying to conjure the essence of
You
something.
were doing the
Absolutely.
you know, I'm partial to Joni Mitchell, I will
Yeah.
tell you, and
Yeah.
you embody the essence of her. So you
Mhm.
didn't need to
Mhm.
sound like her.
Well,
The
I-
emotional
Yeah.
pitch that you hit, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that you could do that, to get that from somebody else and you can put it in your own body and do it. That's amazing.
Well, that the emotional pitch, you're absolutely right on, because it's like say get in a Joni Mitchell song, like For Free, I think the one
Yeah.
you chose. It's like, what is that song about, and where's the emotion in that song? She's telling a story. The story's unfolding. So, and also the fact that I was dressing like her and doing it in character like that, I was aiming to, you know, match her as much as I could. But within that, I was also aiming to give myself leeway to embody it and be freed up
Embody it,
to
yeah.
express
Mhm.
it. So it's an interesting dance between, you know, homage and, well, it is homage, but it's a dance between being accurate and being free, you know?
right.
Mhm.
What is it about Joni Mitchell for you?
Well, in Jersey City, my two older sisters were listening to her all the
I
time.
love it,
Mhm.
right?
And it was my first exposure to lyricism, to
Mhm.
wanderlust, to soliloquy.
Mhm.
And the songs were just so alluring, and the stories within those songs, and also the music. It was a lot of those early piano songs had a real classical cast to
They
them.
did, right?
So it really was like, what is this world? I'm stuck in a basement in Jersey
And
City.
Mhm.
Like, what is this world I want to go to?
I was stuck in a fourth floor walk up in the Bronx. So believe me, I can totally connect. Music took us to other places.
Yeah.
Joni
yeah,
Mitchell, it was for me the words.
Yeah.
The music was beautiful, but the words, it was the first time I ever heard poetry put
Yeah.
into a lyric,
Yeah.
and resonated with me to this day.
Yeah.
It's genius
But
work.
Yeah.
but you see, again, this is back to my other question, is about how you feel, because you from like your head down to your toes
Yeah.
embody these characters. Like
Mhm.
you create and you just allow them to flow 100%. Like I just see like an amazing core,
Mhm.
spiritual core, or human core within you that you can shift into these different. That's why I was wondering, like, how do you feel when
Right.
you're, say, doing Joni Mitchell?
Mhm.
Do you feel Joni Mitchell, or do you feel, well, like you said, the essence of her flowing through you?
Well, it's a job that I clearly define. You know, that show, the script of it was her words.
Mm-hmm.
There was some interpolation and some improvisation. The score was her songs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it began with the early Joni and then went to the later Joni. So really, it was a fully scripted show.
Mm-hmm.
So I had clear, you know, boxes to
Yes,
go into and
uh-huh.
embody and move through. But within that, on top of all of that, you want to give it your energy, your sense of momentum,
Mm-hmm.
your sense of journey and destination. So it's like anything. It's not a free for all. It really is a clearly defined journey.
Right.
Right.
But
Uh-huh.
within that, once you're secure in all those different aspects, you can settle in and really like communicate this work to the audience.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's
It's
communication. It's all about communication. I mean,
Mhm.
me ever having performed anything ever is all about communication, and also on my own part, processing and growing and understanding. But it's not about pandering to the audience. I mean, I can
Mhm.
charm people, I can make people laugh, but I can also I want to challenge audiences.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
I that's why it's never been a monetized transaction. You know.
I'm challenging you. I don't care about making any money.
Well, I do care, but I got to
Right.
figure out how to do that. So,
Actually, right now might be a good time to
Yes,
for us to
I would
take a
love to
look
see
at this
the
video,
video.
that we've been talking
Right.
about here.
Beautiful.
This is the wonderful John Kelly
All right.
as Joni Mitchell.
I slept last night in a good hotel. I went shopping today for jewels. The wind rushed around in the dirty town, and the chill
Oh,
Beautiful. Thank
yes.
you. What was your process in creating your version of Joni Mitchell? What was the process? The body language, John,
Mhm.
is
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I first want to say on piano, that was Zeka Esquivel, who was
Mhm.
our long-standing pianist, the rest
Yeah.
is George O'Keefe. And Kevin Maloney had directed that.
okay. It was directed by Kevin Maloney.
Yeah,
Yay!
at-
Shout out to Kevin Maloney.
at Abrams Arts Center. You know, there's the music, and then her face, there's mostly about the mouth, so it's like a lot of mouth, and the body language is very kind of guitar, you know, kind of flaxen-haired ingenue hippie chick, whatever, and also savvy, you know, glamorous, brilliant
Right.
woman. I mean, so you know, there's the cues are from what
From
I
who she
perceive
is,
who she
right,
is, you know.
how you
Mhm.
perceive it,
Yeah.
and then how you like this
Yeah.
is your work is so internal,
Yes.
and
yes.
that's what I get. Like out here is a slate that could be anything. You
Yeah.
could be anybody.
Yeah.
Like your face, exactly the way it is now, you could encompass so many characters without the makeup because of what is going on up here and what's going on
I
inside.
agree.
It's amazing.
I agree.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the face can be a really
A
good
canvas.
blank slate. I mean,
Yeah.
it was more of a blank slate when I was younger, but still, but that's been a great thing to explore, because it really is fun to just you know, and that also
Mhm.
comes out of when I was doing these self-portraits, it came out of that. It's like, why am I in the mirror all the time? I'm not a narcissist, I'm not a megalomaniac, but I'm exploring, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
And so really those possibilities, body language, face language, sounds, all that came out of this, as you said, this internal exploration.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is, I guess, what the artist does, right?
Absolutely. Now, I feel, or correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel that even the clubs back in those days kind of helped to form, or helped allowed you to experiment, to be so experimental.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the
Yeah.
clubs and that you played for, and the difference between the clubs then and now?
We've got them all here too,
Yeah.
including the Anvil.
Yeah,
What was it like in the Anvil?
Well, that's where I made my debut. I used to go there.
Really?
I used to go there and sketch. I was still, you know, making visual art. And I saw this performer, Tanya Ransom, his real name was Michael Norman, lip syncing Nina Hagen in Punk Dragon, and it
Stop.
changed my life.
Wow.
So I wound up becoming friends with Tanya, and then Tanya started a new wave night on a Monday night. Bill Bauman was the DJ. They let women in. They played new wave music instead of disco music. It was 1979.
Right.
And I made
That's
my
when I was
debut.
there. I can't believe you made your debut at the Anvil.
Lip syncing
right?
Maria Callas's version of the Habanera.
Oh my God.
and Punk Track.
Love it.
But
Oh
that
my
was like
God,
that.
that's
That
fabulous.
was like this. I was like, I can be a performer again. I can unleash
Yes.
this rage and this possibility, and that's really how the career started. Yeah.
Not many people can say their career was started by the Anvil. Good
I know.
for you.
But now, in contrast to the feeling that, oh, you failed as a dancer, what was the feeling when you were, oh my gosh, I can be a performer now?
Well, there was the desire for redemption.
Uh-huh.
I never ever thought I'd perform again after I'd quit ballet.
Uh-huh.
That's
Because
why
that had to have been an
Yeah,
awakening. And
it was, quitting was a sense of failure, but then redeeming myself in art school was a sense of you know, conquest. But then when I watched Tanya at the end, I was like, oh shit.
Mhm.
I mean, I'd been doing drag, you know, at Halloween when I was a kid, and you know, even in the 70s, I was doing it here and there. But that really ignited me. I was like, I can process rage. I can,
You can do it all,
I can
right?
all my anger about my father, this, that.
Wow.
I can get it out. I can do something which is so utterly socially annoying. 1979, it's changed a lot. And it really was, you know, it was taboo then. It was, it was an edge to it. And so in that way, I embraced it, and it freed me up. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you mentioned about your anger for your father. What?
Well, you know, American male stuff.
Yeah.
You got to do this. No, I
Yeah.
adored my dad, but I mean, there was a lot of, you know, I had two older sisters, and it was just like,
What were
a
your
lot of
sisters
pressure.
about? Were they not creatives or?
not really. My sister is a landscape designer now.
Oh, okay.
But
there
I'm
you
really
go.
the only artist in the family.
Right.
You know, only gay queer person in the family. No, my sisters were great, but I mean, it was like, you know, the American male, what a male is supposed to do,
Yes,
how he's supposed
right.
to act, you know,
Yes.
it's like,
But your dad, he could draw, and yet he never used it. So seeing this in his child, right, would have, you understand how it could be daunting for a parent.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I didn't acknowledge it in myself, and now I've got this kid. He's queer,
Yeah.
and he can freaking draw.
Well, they only started getting it when they saw my first New York Times review, and they're like,
Wow.
"Ah, okay."
What year was
Wow.
that?
Oh, that was probably 1986.
Hmm.
And then, when I used to rent we used to rent Carnegie Recital Hall and I used to do these concerts in drag as Dagmar Onassis,
Oh my
who's
goodness.
the daughter of Maria Callas, the
Yes.
fictitious daughter. But one
Fabulous.
concert,
Fabulous.
You got to look into
No, no, no.
it. It's so fun.
at one of these concerts, my parents came, and then we had a reception after at Carnegie, and I changed into, I think I had the gown still on. And I walked into the cocktail room, and the crowd parted. And I walked toward my parents and to my dad and say, "Hello,
Aw.
Jack. It's lovely to meet you."
Oh,
So that was kind of great because they were outnumbered, and I also,
they were outnumbered.
but they loved it because there were pictures of my parents in drag for Halloween. I mean, I think they got it,
Right.
but they just wanted me to be happy and financially
Well,
secure
good.
and all that. Like,
Uh-huh.
you go to the dentist,
Right. Yeah. When you come from, I don't know, middle class or working class backgrounds, me too. And that's
Mhm.
all
Yeah,
my parent. My mother
exactly.
wanted me to work for the phone company.
Yeah.
God, I would have killed myself. I did not want. But look to get a Times review, and you said it. I mean, that's what really reached
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
At the end of the
Mhm.
day, the
Yeah.
New York Times is like something that parents can relate to.
Exactly.
And
The respectability.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
want to talk
Yeah.
about some of your work
Mhm.
because you were saying, Tim asked you, like, what inspires you? What sets it off? A friend gave me a book. Tell
Mhm.
us about that work.
Okay. Yeah. A friend gave me a book. It is a graphic novel, graphic narrative that I just finished based on the performance work. The performance work was based, I was working on a piece, and I was going to use trapeze for the climax. I'd done trapeze before at BAM in 1993. I did a piece about the Texas-born trapeze artist Barbette, who was a cross-dressing trapeze artist in the 1920s.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in 2002, I was working on a piece about the French film Children of Paradise, and I was going to use trapeze for the climactic moment. In a training session right before the premiere, I slipped. I fractured 4 vertebrae in my neck.
Imagine.
Oh
And I
my
came this
God.
close to being a quadriplegic.
Oh my
I
goodness.
survived, had to reschedule the piece, didn't do the trapeze. But I
It's an
went to,
amazing story.
and I wrote a
Mhm.
story about it, which I
Yeah.
didn't
And
publish.
when was this?
2002.
Okay.
So I can make a performance piece out of this. But the one thing I changed was that I wasn't working on a piece about the French film Children of Paradise. I was working on a piece about a man who's very much like the Italian painter Caravaggio. So that's the one thing I changed in the when I did the performance work, where I was lying on the table talking about the broken neck. There was a 3-channel video component.
Yeah, you had done this was like a multimedia presentation.
Yeah, exactly.
a
Yeah,
whole-
yeah.
But it was a monologue that I wrote all about the experience of me breaking my neck from a
My
trapeze accident
goodness.
and going into a fantasy world while I'm laid
Right.
out with no water, no morphine, no aspirin, no nothing. I don't know
Oh,
if I
my
needed
goodness.
surgery. It was like a vision quest at St. Vincent's Hospital
You were at St. Vincent?
on a Friday
Wow.
night. Yeah, for 15 hours.
Jesus, and the
Staring
early,
at the ceiling with a neck brace and not knowing if I needed surgery. When it
Well,
happened,
not
my
knowing your
body.
future.
When
Yeah,
it happened,
right?
my body went completely numb. But then I realized I could move my fingers, so I realized, okay, there's hope here.
Right.
They don't move me,
Wow.
call an ambulance. They took me to St. Vincent's. But anyway, that whole experience, I got a lot of mileage out of that with this
Amazing.
performance piece, which
Mhm.
I called The Escape Artist. But then
Oh,
I
wow.
took the monologue, the song lyrics that I co-wrote with Carol Lipnick, some of them, and I turned that into a graphic novel, graphic narrative, which I'm trying to get published. So there's a lot of legs going from performance back into visual art, all based on this
It's
singular
amazing.
experience, which
Right.
is a very life-changing experience.
Right.
So,
But
Wow.
for many people, that life-changing experience would have been like one thing. You
Yeah.
turned it into many things, many pieces of art that is really incredible, because it was a tragedy, and
mhm.
often our minds shut down with a tragedy. You once again went back to your art and opened up as many doors as you could to share that experience.
It's also a rupture in my life that I still
A rupture.
will never
yeah.
be able to reconcile. Like
Right.
that moment in slow motion of falling upside down,
Oh.
you remember, it's like being in a car accident when it's all of a sudden you're in slow motion. God forbid, but that
No, that's how
happens.
car accidents.
Yeah,
and
exactly, right?
Right.
And it's like, oh shit, I have no control. This is happening
Right.
now.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
Now what's going to happen? Where am I? And it's really about accepting where you are in a given moment.
right in space, where you are in space at that moment,
and then laid up after the fact. So, when we have those episodes, ruptures, experiences, as an artist, we have the possibility, maybe the luxury of using that as fodder for work.
Right.
But it's also, that process is a way to make peace with it or make sense of it
of the
as much as one can.
as much as one can.
Yeah.
How were you affected? We were all in New York during the AIDS era.
I was just going to say, well, you had mentioned your first Times review was 1986 or roughly around there.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking that was about the same time that AIDS was coming about pretty much full blown at that point.
Well, here's the skinny. I lost my first partner in 1982.
Sorry.
William Schwedler. He was a painter. He was the one that I would go to the anvil with. 1982.
That was really early in the
It wasn't even
epidemic.
called AIDS until
it was
November.
GRID. It was called GRID. And people were getting those spots, KS.
Yeah.
They didn't even know what it was.
Yeah. And then, so my career was just beginning then. So really, all through the 80s, my career was going like this, and that my life was going like this because I was losing people left and right. So it's been a long-standing source of talk about rupture in one's life, post-traumatic stress, whatever. It's just, that's been my reality, and it still informs my work, my reality.
I was just going to say, did that affect your work or your?
Oh yeah. Oh, I made many pieces about AIDS, about life, about death, about living, either metaphorically, directly, literally, Orpheus going into the underworld to retrieve his loved one.
Wow.
As Egon Schiele, I died on stage. I mean, and I was diagnosed in 1989. I'm still completely asymptomatic. So I embody that reality as a long-term survivor. So, and my generation died, my colleagues died, my audiences died, the great minds of my generation died. So, and then ironically, all that coincided with digital technology coming in the mid 90s when the new drugs came in to help people.
I didn't think about the digital technology happening at the same time as the cocktails. You're the first person
to make that connection.
Yeah, to make that connection. Exactly.
The thing I say all the time, it's like we went from the silent films to the talkies, and all the nitrate film disintegrated, or most of it. So really, so there's little proof of people's lives before then.
Yes.
And so there's a big sinkhole with this missing generation. So the cultural dialogue did not continue, and it's exacerbated by the fact of everything being documented about our narcissistic or self-absorbed culture.
Absolutely.
Not to be judgmental, but generationally, there's been a rupture, and generational communication was always the glue that held outsider cultures together.
Well, certainly cultures that aren't here, it's what holds them together. First Nation people, all the other parts of the world, it is their history. For hundreds of years that holds them together. You're right. We ruptured.
And
but
also,
when you speak as you did now about this, that's why I asked you that, because it completely changed my life. And I've told friends that are my age, I will never be the same. And a lot of them don't connect to that because they've been able to bury it.
I was just going to say, because the digital now, everything has a record, everything is recorded,
right?
Exactly, is documented. And before that, they will never know what occurred,
unless we talk about it.
But they will never be able to even understand what we experienced at that time, because it was not properly documented.
And maybe it's a luxury to not have to.
That's true. That is true.
But that said, it's important for people to know how we got to where we are, what freedoms we have.
Yes.
And it's also informed by ageism, which is rampant in our culture.
Right.
Yeah.
So it really is a divide. And when I do these works, I hope to get as many young people to come see them. Like I did a piece in last December at La Mama about
Underneath the Skin,
about Samuel Steward, the 20th century novelist, a gay novelist and trapeze artist. But all that info, and it's his words that we have and all his ephemera, but he lived his life authentically through the 20th century at a point where you could be murdered, blackmailed, imprisoned. People are going through a single men's mail, entrapment. I mean, it was just, I don't know how much young people know how challenging it was for gay people, queer people outside.
Tim talks about that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you pave the way
Yeah.
and you don't know if they appreciate it
Yeah.
or even aware of it because they weren't, but to
Yeah.
give the devil its due, they weren't there.
Right.
Their
Right,
only reality
exactly.
is their reality now.
And
but
once again, it wasn't on
Right.
the internet, so they can't
Right.
look it
Yeah.
up really and get a good, clear picture of it.
But how great for them that they have publications, they
Absolutely.
have freedoms, they have
Right.
access.
yeah.
It's great,
They've
and that's
got
what people were
resources.
aiming for, whether or not people were functioning as activists or just living their lives authentically. It's all the same thing. People were aiming to prevail and own their reality, at great risk.
Right.
You know?
Mhm.
Right. Own their reality at great
Can-
risk.
Yeah.
Can
yeah.
we talk about some of your inspirations? Some of the artists that help to inspire and help to kind of maybe
Ah.
navigate your trajectory.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, Egon Schiele,
Mhm.
his dates were 1890, 1918. He was like the self-portraiture drawing, and also his life, which is very dramatic.
German expressionist.
Viennese expressionist.
Yeah, Viennese
Yeah.
expressionist era.
And then Maria Callas, who opened my world to music and opera and dramatic possibility. She was this great tragedian, great actress with this incredible voice. She really changed opera. And then beyond that, Pina Bausch.
Tell me who that is? I don't
Pina
know.
Bausch is the mother of the German genre called dance theater or Tanztheater. She died about 8 years ago, but she had been making these phenomenal, big, huge dance theater works in a city called Wuppertal, Germany. And the company is at BAM every 2 years. They've been there since the 80s. But she really opened my mind to possibility of spectacle, of oblique storytelling, of what the body can do. So Pina Bausch was really a huge influence on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're three.
Yeah, you got
And they're
some
all
good
pretty
ones.
extreme, aren't
Yes,
they?
they're all
Three
big.
of them. They all have to.
They're all innovators.
Yeah.
And people who have changed the course of their genre.
They're not
Mhm.
Ethel Merman, you know.
Yes.
And I love Ethel Merman.
I love Ethel Merman too. And talking about Ethel Merman, when did you discover this voice that you have?
I think
Your voice is just, yeah. I mean, you can hit soprano and then bring it down, and then you were never formally trained, or at some point.
I mean,
did?
I started training years after I was already singing.
I figured that was going to be the answer.
I'm a range queen.
You are.
Ah,
I like to sing high, I like to sing low, but I think I willed my voice into existence.
mhm.
Maria Callas, listening to her and early Streisand, I think that those things I wanted to go there, and I had some voice, you know, but not like Carol Lipnick, who has this incredible natural voice.
Amazing
I think
voice.
I kind of willed my
You
voice.
shaped
into
your
it.
voice and willed your voice.
Yeah.
You like singing to Maria Callas alone at home.
Well, I lip sync to her.
You lip sync,
piano,
right. Right.
And
Right.
I think I once dropped acid in 1981. I was in the East Village over here, and I was looking in the mirror, and I put on Callas and I lip synced to it. I was like, oh my God, it's coming out of my body. Like I can mesmerize myself, you know. So I just music makes me crazy.
Right.
I mean, if it weren't for music, I never would have been we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
But you know what? That voice is just totally in there.
Absolutely.
And,
Now, I just want to say that to find out everything about John Kelly,
everything about John
you
Kelly.
can go to johnkellyperformance.org. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, John Kelly with only, yes, there it is down the bottom.
There it is.
It's
Easy peasy.
KELLY, johnkellyperformance.org. And you can find upcoming performances and things that you're doing. Can you tell us about the journal?
Oh,
I love
yeah.
this.
oh, really? Okay, yeah.
1976, you started.
Yeah, my
right?
roommate, we were in art school, and my roommate, George Kusulidis, kept a journal. I was like, oh, what's that? So I got one. I've been doing it since. It's a friend. I take it with me to bed at night, write either ideas or whatever.
Mhm.
When I'm on the road, it really is a friend in a hotel room,
Mhm.
a journal.
Because it's comforting. It's just something you
It's
know, and
familiar,
yeah,
yeah.
right?
and it's a regular thing to do. It's like a little ritual, you know?
Mhm.
So I have boxes of them. And, you know, one day I may publish another autobiography. I'm not quite ready to do that yet.
Yeah. You'll know when the time is
Mhm.
And
right.
I'm looking forward to reading Charles Bush's recent.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
was
Charles
such a
Bush has been on
Yeah.
the show, and
Mhm.
he's going to be at the Milford Reader and Writers Festival
This
this
weekend,
weekend,
right.
and he'll be interviewed. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great, and his book will be for sale. I'm going
Yeah.
to get it this weekend.
Yeah.
I haven't had it
Yay.
yet. I'll get him to autograph it.
Yeah. So eventually I made publish, but I did use the journals in a piece I did 4 years ago
Mhm.
called "Time No Line." You can find that on my webpage.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's kind of got a lot of journal stuff.
But
in it.
I'm sure your journal would be quite a journey.
I guess
Right.
for a shrink.
So you have all of these layers. What's it like for you to be in a relationship with somebody? I said no because I'm like, God,
That's
John
true.
Kelly is really intense. Remember, I've known your name over the years. I saw you do Joni Mitchell. But when I read about you and the people that influenced you and all of that, I'm like, God, he's intense. Like, what's it like?
Well, when I'm not working, I'm not working. And
But aren't you? Oh, isn't it's like, how could you not be working? You're so much about the work.
well, my last partner is an actor. We were together 10 years. We split up about, I don't know, 10 years ago. I don't know. And that was great. But he was on the road a lot. I was on the road a lot.
It's
But we
hard.
were able to talk shop together,
Mhm.
And also, the work used to be the most important thing in my life. Now it's not,
Mhm.
because I've done it. The dream is shifting. There's less funding, so now it's like more on my shoulders. What I want to
Yeah.
do do more painting, more visual art,
Nice.
but also it becomes a quality of life issue at some point.
You think?
Mhm.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Sister, I hear you loud and clear.
And everybody's making art now. There's so many people making art. There's influencers
Right.
making with filters. You can make
Mhm.
clever looking work.
Right.
So when the artist is competing with a lot of other people, so it's gotten daunting in that way. And also, I feel blessed to have been around in the 80s through that whole scene
the
which
hate,
began
the
in this
hate
neighborhood.
thing,
I
right?
agree.
Right.
Yeah, it was
agree.
it was really the last gasp of genuine bohemia in New York. It was
Right.
affordable rents
Or of
and
humanity.
artists and outsiders. Yeah,
Being
And-
human.
and that comes down to real estate, and that probably will not exist anymore in New
Mhm.
York.
Sadly.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
but you're not giving up the dream. The dream just
Oh
changes.
no, yes.
The dream changes. We have to know that because
Yeah,
every
yeah.
decade that you're on this earth, you're evolving.
Yeah,
So it makes sense that the dream evolves.
yeah, and the dream is really more about process. Like where do you
Right.
find sweet refuge? Like I was just at a residency upstate for 5 weeks. I was painting, and it was like, oh my God, it's quiet, internal. Then there's something left over that I could put out into the world,
Right.
as opposed to this body showing up and being anxious all the time.
Mhm.
It does take a toll being a performer. I'm kind of not an introvert, but I'm a shy kind of person. I can be
Mhm.
gregarious, but that quiet thing that then lives
Well,
on.
it's
Mhm.
my husband's a painter and a
Yeah.
photographer. He's been doing a series of flowers on our deck in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the hell does he sit out there and photograph these flowers with his phone? I mean, this is
Yeah.
someone who's a well-known.
Mhm.
They're taken with the phone, and they're fabulous. And he
Yeah.
gets so into it, and I just don't understand like how he can do that when he came up in a different time, right? And now the focus is using the iPhone.
Yeah.
We have our iPhones and
Yeah.
we can take these amazing pictures.
Sadly, visual artists are in competition with AI.
Right.
at
No,
this
no,
point.
Tim, that's
Yeah.
the God's honest
That's-
truth.
But you can,
Yeah.
I can
frightening.
spot it.
Same
It's
here.
just like,
Same
what?
here.
I mean, it's impressive, but nothing like stuff that's handmade or,
Mhm.
Right.
I don't know. I got to remain hopeful that artists will continue to exist and hopefully prevail. I mean,
agree.
but it's gotten more challenging,
Mhm.
certainly. Yeah.
Well,
But I would like to
right.
think that it will be weeded out eventually. No,
No,
AI is here to
yeah,
stay.
AI is here to
But
stay.
I'm saying
right.
the true art and
will prevail in the end.
fictional
Yeah.
art.
Right.
or synthetic art.
Pseudo art. Or you know what? Maybe they'll exist side by side because
Yes,
we've had a
right,
lot of
right.
music people on the show, right? That came up in the industry when you made records. And now
you had live
everybody
musicians.
is on Spotify. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Everyone's got something dropping on Spotify.
Well, people are expecting their music for free. There's that.
That's a
Mhm.
But hopefully artists who stay in there, hopefully they will be acknowledged, supported, or at least be able to function and live their lives okay before they're dead. Once artists are dead, there's a lot of currency because there's only this much work,
Right.
so the work becomes more valuable. That's kind
Right.
of disgusting,
I
but
agree.
that's the game. I mean,
Yep.
I knew so many of these artists who died from AIDS, like Hugh Steers, this great painter, and now their work is like, you know,
Right.
Mhm.
and it's like, it's kind of meh, you know, and I don't know. There's always going to be artists,
You know,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
I think you're right. Like, will people be able to notice what is real art? It's more about a response to something. I think that is
right. And human
know.
beings will let's just talk about response. They are
Yeah.
going to respond to it. And at the end of the day, I mean, we can sit here and talk about what's real art, what isn't real art, but
yeah.
you know what? We got to keep producing, keeping it out
Yeah.
there. I'm going to reference Howell Gallery because you've had a show there.
Yes.
Look at what Jane does there. And then
Yeah.
she opened up the annex. Haha.
Yeah.
Brian Butterick,
Yeah.
they what's the name of the person who curated his show? He's just so
Aldo
brilliant.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Yeah.
So brilliant.
Yeah.
Brian had an incredible life, and a lot of
Yeah.
it was journals and
Yeah.
graphic flyers and performances. And you know what? Because of Jane, she launched it over there, and people could go and they could see it.
Yeah.
And here's what I feel: as long as you can produce a work and it exists out there and people can go and see it, and I don't think that's ever going to die. I think galleries, you know, they may not be, there may be many more of them than there are now, or they may change form.
Yeah.
But they're always going to be there. Art is always going to be about show and tell. You go to another culture, there's artists in some of the most remote villages I've been in parts of the world. There are people creating art. You know what? Art will always be created. And I will never believe that's going to die.
I agree.
Oh, I
And
agree.
Jane Friedman at Hell is
Thank
doing
you.
such,
Really.
such good work preserving the work of artists.
Absolutely.
Well, once again, find out everything about our guest, John Kelly, at johnkellyperformance.org. johnkellyperformance.org. So what can we expect? What is coming up for John Kelly?
I'm working with the Baryshnikov Art Center on a new work over the next couple of years. And it's going to have a workshop at Kotzbahn, which is a dance center in Tivoli, New York, in early November.
Nice.
But I'm still at the rudimentary phase. I don't know what the work is going to be.
Mhm.
It may be a solo piece with a bunch of songs by gay composers connected
Love it.
with movement that explores the moment between pedestrian movement and dance. But thematically, I'm not sure. I'm still in kind of a gay history mode. So I don't know, but that is what I'm now beginning to work on. And then I'm trying to get my graphic novel published and exhibited. So those are some internal challenges that I'm trying to get out into the world.
Well, yeah, they are challenges, but you know what? You'll do it.
Absolutely. You're John Kelly, for God's sake.
For God's sakes, you got something to say, right? Well, I'm so happy that we were able to all get together today, and that I could talk to you in person. You know, we talk about the way people look at art, and we could talk about the way people look at artists. The first time I ever saw you was on stage. And I'm like, wow, who is that guy? And somebody said, well, that's John Kelly, as if I should know. You know, we all need to get the great people out there. I'll say that. And the great people are not always the most commercial people, but they're unbelievable artists. Tammy Faye, another brilliant, absolutely brilliant, one of the most humble people in the world. But you know what? We are all blessed that we live in New York, and that even though the rents are gazillions of dollars, there are still people creating art here. And let's not forget about Brooklyn, the kids over there. That's what they know in my daughter's age group. And, you know, she was very upset. Her lawyer boyfriend had taken up with a group of artists. She's like, I didn't move out here to lose him to be painting murals on walls. I'm like, Kyle, she said, I'm like, God, that's why people move to Brooklyn. But you know what? It is happening there. And again, it's their reality and it's what they know. So.
Well, and they're the next generation.
Thank you. All right. And you're the influencer. So, you know, we keep paying it forward.
I'm an influencer.
You're an influencer. Oh, we're going to call it John Kelly, the influencer. God, sometimes I hate that. The influencer. That didn't even exist.
You know what word I
started.
hate? Creatives. I hate the word creative.
Why do you hate that?
I don't know. Because it's like they can't say artists, so they creative. Or maybe creative means people that aren't quite artists, but they're creative. I don't know what that means, though.
I just thought it was the power. What is create? The power to change, the power to affect.
No, but I mean, calling somebody a creative.
Oh, yeah. That's like an
That-
advertising
yeah.
buzzword. That's
Yeah,
why
I
you
don't like
hate it.
that.
I did
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a creative.
yeah,
No, that's like saying he's an advertising executive.
yeah.
It's so funny. John, thank
John
you.
Kelly, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank
This
you.
has been an absolute delight.
Thank you both so much. This has been a great conversation. And
Yeah,
I feel
that's what
so
we're
happy.
about.
Well,
that
we are.
You finally got me here.
Well,
yes,
yeah,
we are.
Because
as
I don't
well.
give up. I'm a Capricorn.
And again, go to johnkellyperformance.org to find out everything that has went on, is going on, and will be going on with John Kelly,
And
the wonderful performance artist.
we will be back with you next week with somebody you probably know, David Kennerly,
Mhm.
who came out with the book Getting In about clubs. So you want to hear what it's all about, check in with Wendy and Tim Wednesday at 2:00. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.